movies are back.
They are back, baby.
They're back.
Thank you, Tom Cruise.
I'm Erin.
I'm Tom.
And this is Baby's First Watch List, the podcast that watched 2 movies this past Saturday in the theaters.
It's our first 2 movies together in the theater since our child was born.
Yeah.
Over a year ago.
Yeah. Wow, that's really impressive. Yes, today we are covering 2023's Barbie and 2023's Oppenheimer.
Or, as the tagline should have been, come on, Oppy, let's go party.
So this was an internet sensation called Barbenheimer.
Yeah, we may have to capture this moment because if this podcast is supposed to be like a time capsule, we're going to have to, I think, acknowledge Barbenheimer.
Yeah, exactly. So like when our kid listens to this in 20 years, he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be like tuned in enough that like he'll be like, oh my God, Barbenheimer.
He's like, wait a minute, you guys saw the first in the Oppenheimer cinematic universe?
Exactly. So Barbenheimer started a long time ago, like a year ago.
Oh, it was as soon as it was announced that they were coming out on the same date.
Yes, Barbie and Oppenheimer are coming out on the same day in July 2023. And people went nuts for it.
Yep. The memes.
So many memes, so many shirts were made. And it turned out to be, I think, it ended up being a very positive thing for everybody.
Oh, yeah. I think the rising tide lifted all boats.
Yeah. And so it became a sort of, I don't know if I would call it like a challenge, but sort of a Barbenheimer challenge where you are supposed to do both in one day.
Yeah.
You support both movies.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it, that it wasn't tearing each other down.
It wasn't Barbie versus Oppy. It was Barbie and Oppy.
And there's even like the memes of the two of them shaking hands. Like it's like, that's what it's supposed to be.
And just like Barbie says in Barbie, it's not Barbie and Oppy. It's Barbie and it's Oppy. So we decided to do this on Saturday. We set it up weeks in advance.
Because you have to when you have a 1-year-old baby.
My parents watched the baby in full day. We did have swim, but after swim, we dropped him off.
Yep.
And we we were on a strict schedule.
And we hit everything, and we made good time.
We did it all, and I felt good about it. I think it was
day.
a great date day.
Oh yeah.
And we bought the tickets way in advance. You have had friends that have struggled to find tickets.
Yes, I have.
And I love it.
We also have a friend who had a ticket to both of them, saw Barbie, then went to his 9:30 p.m. showing of Oppenheimer.
Which not recommended, I'm sure.
Got into the movie, started watching the previews, and just got up and left because he was like, I'm not going to make it.
We're not going to say who it was.
No, but he knows. And fortunately, he's a AMC A-list member, so he didn't actually like spend the money on the ticket directly. So it's like, I get it, but it's a funny story.
And it stinks because Oppenheimer was so good.
Yeah. Which we'll get to.
We'll get to it. So, I think we'll talk more about the specifics of our Barbenheimer experience. This episode's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. There's not going to be a full-fledged plot summary for either movie because we want you to go see it, and we hope that if you are listening to this and you haven't seen either of them, that you plan on it. So go look at the Wikipedia plot summaries if you really want to do it that way, but definitely go see both movies.
So good. Okay, let's start with Oppenheimer.
Okay. That was what we started with.
It is. 12:30 p.m. showing at our local independent theater, which also happened to be in a town where Oppenheimer 2023 was filmed.
And at a theater
and
where
Oppenheimer...
J. Robert Oppenheimer saw a movie there.
Yeah.
At that theater.
So cool. So Oppenheimer is a Christopher Nolan written and directed biopic. It's actually the first screenplay that he wrote
by himself
in the first person.
Oh, because I know he usually either works with his brother or something like that.
I don't know if this was the first one by himself.
No, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
It's the first one he wrote in the first person.
He said, I think it might be the first one ever, but I don't know. He's like,
really
I've never heard of anybody else doing that, but it felt right for this.
Yeah, and as someone who's starting to get your feet wet with screenwriting.
Learning about screenwriting, yeah.
Like, doesn't that sound really hard?
I mean, it's all hard.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know anything.
So Oppenheimer is based on the biography American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin, which
Spooky
came
title.
out spooky title. It came out in 2005. And in fact, no, this isn't really a spoiler. The first like little instant of the movie has a quote about Prometheus.
Yes.
Which poor Prometheus.
Yeah.
The guy's going through it.
Yeah. So
he's like, here, humans, have fire. And they're like, oops, we're going to torture you for eternity. Bye.
Yeah, that's the general gist. If you don't know the Prometheus myth, it's he's the one who brought fire to the humans,
and humans are like, oh my god, thanks, I can now make burgers.
Yeah, exactly. The gods like punished him by like putting him on a
does he have like
a hill or something, and like his liver is getting picked at by vultures for eternity or something like that.
That sucks.
Yeah,
that does
just
not
for fire.
Fun. Yeah, like he didn't. What if he didn't know? He was like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't read an email about fire.
Didn't get the memo from Zeus.
Like, are you kidding? Okay, well, anyway. This film stars Cillian Murphy in a starring role for the ages, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, and Florence Pugh. But honestly, like,
we don't have time to go through the entire cast.
The cast is extremely impressive and also, at the same time, extremely random.
Yes.
Like, why? Okay,
like,
sorry,
okay, spoiler. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Why is Josh Peck have his finger on the detonation button?
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry. Why?
Yeah.
He turns on, he goes, Megan.
Go listen to our Megan episode, by the way. Shout out Josh Peck.
Like, okay, there's Josh Peck. And then Roderick Rules is there from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And you're like, like Roderick?
Yeah, and Jack Quaid from The Boys is
and
also
like,
there.
Okay. Yeah. And then Olivia Thirlby from Juno is there. And you're like, okay. Just like the cast is kind of wild. And then you're like, oh, Jason Clarke's here?
Yeah. But I feel like Jason Clarke is just in he's in the background of every movie.
The entire movie, I'm like, it's Jason. What's his last? Yeah. It's Jason Clarke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then randomly Tony Goldwyn's in it, but has like no lines.
Really? I didn't even catch him.
He was in the back of the interrogation.
Hearing. Oh, yeah.
And then Gary Oldman's like, I'm giving you 1 day. He said, I'm giving you 1 day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then
he did.
I'm just like, wow, this cast is stacked.
The makeup was good on him. He didn't totally look like Harry Truman, but he didn't look like Gary Oldman.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have Truman's Instagram.
It took me a sec.
I
well, I went to Harry S. Truman Elementary School.
So you saw pics everywhere.
I know all about the big T.
Okay. So the cinematographer, Hoyt van Hoytema.
Yeah.
He works a lot with Nolan. So he did Interstellar. He did Tenet. He was Oscar nominated for Dunkirk. His other like pretty recent film was Nope.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm like, the cinematography was really good for that.
Yeah. Has he ever won one?
No.
Oh.
He also did Ad Astra.
Okay.
He did The Fighter. And one of his first movies I think was Let the Right One In, the Swedish version.
Her.
He did Her.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Kind of.
He did Spectre.
Yeah.
The Bond
James
movie.
Bond
Did you
movie.
say that?
No, I only gave a little bit of a rundown.
Yeah, he does a ton of one-word movies.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's like, I'm really important. I can only read the first word.
He did Her, Interstellar, Spectre, Dunkirk. Then he did Ad Astra, which is 2 words. Then he did Tenet, Nope,
2 words,
Oppenheimer.
which is how many words were spoken in the entire movie.
What, Ad Astra?
Yeah. So the editor is Jennifer. Is it Lame? Is it LeMay?
I don't know.
We don't know. But she works a lot with Noah Baumbach, ironically.
Oh, wow.
Because Barbie was written in part by Noah Baumbach.
Well, also ironic is that I think almost all of Christopher Nolan's movies were released through Warner Brothers. This one, Oppenheimer, was Universal, but Barbie was Warner Brothers.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. So it's a similar, they switched off. They traded.
Yes. So this editor, Jennifer LeMay, I'm going to say, has done so much. So she did Frances Ha, which we saw.
Yep.
She edited Manchester by the Sea. She edited both Hereditary and Midsummer.
Oh, okay.
Marriage Story, Tenet, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Like she runs.
She also
the
did
gamut.
Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Yep.
And she did the Brian De Palma documentary, which Noah Baumbach directed it.
There you go.
Yeah.
The music is by Ludwig Göransson.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, the other person I said did Barbie dropped out, so it wasn't.
Okay.
I talked to
We'll get to
you
that, I'm
earlier
sure.
about that. Yeah. And so Ludwig Göransson is known for working with a lot of in a lot of Ryan Coogler movies.
Well, first he was Childish Gambino, Donald Glover's producer
Yes,
for
and
most of his music.
and Childish Gambino,
Yeah.
who like
Going back to his first
he
album,
like shouts
yeah.
him out in some of his songs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he won a Grammy for This Is America with Childish Gambino, and I think he got a bunch of stuff for Black Panther.
He won
for
the
working
Oscar.
on yeah,
for
and
Best
a
Score.
Grammy too, I think, for it.
Yeah, he's an upcoming great.
And you could tell that like he did really well with this one too.
Yeah.
The score. I have a cool little fun fact about it. At a terrible but fine 180 minutes, it actually worked. I don't know what to tell you.
Can I suggest an adjective?
Yeah.
Surprisingly bearable.
I like that. I
3
think
hours.
that's perfect. Oppenheimer was released in the U.S. this past weekend, but however, it has already surpassed its $100 million budget in a box office gross, which is currently, as of Wikipedia now, $174.1 million, way above projections, which I think was $55 million.
Well, that was domestic.
Oh,
Domestic was supposed to be around 55 million, and it ended up so far, as of Sunday night, or I guess of Saturday, 85 million.
It's crazy.
Domestic.
Yeah, I love it. So a couple interesting things about Oppy. Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, and Matt Damon took a pay cut to be in the movie. Their kind of contracts usually say anywhere from 10 to 20 million, depending on the person in the film or whatever. But they each were okay with $4 million.
And only Damon has worked with Christopher Nolan before, right?
I think you're right.
I'm not gonna. If you don't know what movie he was in, I'm not gonna spoil it for you because he's great.
It's a little
movie.
cameo, interesting thing in there. But yeah, they took pay cuts. And a lot of people didn't know what role they were considered for. At first they knew it was for Oppenheimer, but they didn't know what. So I don't know why.
Well,
that
I feel
was
like there
done.
were a lot of interchangeable white guys. So
Definitely.
so I could totally have seen that.
There is one person that acted in this movie that has actually studied nuclear physics. There might have been more, but there's one person from this movie that it's noted has studied nuclear physics.
Benny Safdie?
And it's Benny
No way. No way. He was the first person to come to mind. And I was like, if you say no, I don't know who I'm going to get to next.
It was Benny Safdie.
Yes.
Who had a great role.
Yeah.
And Benny Safdie, if you don't know, is of the Safdie brothers fame. They did Uncut Gems and Good Time.
They are not co-directing the new Adam Sandler one. It's only Josh, I think.
Benny's very busy now. He was in Licorice Pizza.
He was in Good Time as well.
He was in that the Vanessa Kirby movie from a few years ago.
Pieces of a Woman.
Pieces of a Woman, which was a devastating movie.
He was in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yeah, he's the dad in that.
Or is. I don't know. Did it come out yet?
Yeah, it's out. I can't wait to see that one, actually.
Yeah. That's, except for 2022 Stars at Noon, that's his entire filmography as an actor.
Oh my God. Wait, where are we Benny Safdie stands?
I am. He was also in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show in one episode.
Nice. So I thought that was a fun fact. Concerning the score, they wanted the violin to be the main instrument.
Totally.
Because it has the ability to go from like this romantic
chaotic
sound
to
to
chaotic,
like, oh my gosh, chaotic, terrifying, whatever.
Ominous.
In an instant.
Yeah.
So the fact that its versatility works that way worked really well.
That's a cool fact.
And then, of course, the big fact here, there's pretty much no CGI, computer generated images.
Nolan said that there was nothing.
Yeah, and so Nolan's known for using minimal CGI.
Well, I would say probably besides Interstellar.
He says he uses minimal CGI, and there were actually real life explosives created for this movie.
Pretty meta for them testing explosives for the explosives test in the movie.
It's good stuff. So that is the background I have. Do you want to give us a tiny little kind of lead up to us seeing Oppenheimer, and then like literally
in our day,
okay. And then just like a sentence or two of a synopsis, not even like, just
I'll
like
give you I'll give you 3 hours and 2 sentences.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So our day started. We had our 9 a.m. swim classes with our baby, which is just
and
me,
Uncle Leo,
which is just me carrying the baby, not Uncle Leo, around in the water for 45 minutes.
Uncle Leo's just the swim instructor. He's not really anybody's uncle.
No, he's no. I mean, maybe
he's somebody's uncle.
Maybe, but
Yeah, we just go to the local Y.
Yeah, at the local Y, they do a little. They give him the little boogie board. They give him the little bath toys.
The noodle.
Yeah, the noodle, and you just kind of figure out what they feel like doing that day.
And then like
Show them how to kick their legs.
Uncle Leo has like a laminated piece of paper with like the
songs
words
on it.
like
Wheels on the bus.
Yeah.
And he makes everybody sing it, and like nobody's singing it. And he's like, I can't carry a tune to save my life.
And then he's like, hey, you've ever seen Dune?
Yeah, he asked me if I saw David Lynch's Dune from 1984 one time.
We're halfway done swim.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that
4 more weeks.
From 9 to 9:45.
Yeah, so then we got in the car and he took a nap, as he does post swim.
The second we pull out of the parking lot, he's over it.
I went home, I put my button down shirt, my tie, and
Tom legit dressed in business
my
casual
khakis
to go see Oppy.
Oppenheimer. Oh yeah.
I wore a black tank top,
which is fair. I realized that I don't have enough black in my wardrobe to do that, so I was like, "What's
black for the
so?"
both
I
of
was
us.
like, "What's the stupidest thing I could possibly do here?" And I was gonna wear a full suit, but it was too hot, and I went with it was a half measure, I'll admit, but it was pretty. It was
funny.
I liked it. And I was like, I sit at work like this anyway. It's not like it's gonna bother me.
Right.
So you can find. Actually, I put it in our story. Maybe I'll make a post.
I think that would be nice.
Show it on.
Maybe when we post the episode.
Yeah, when I post the episode, if you go on our Instagram, it'll be part of like the slideshow on the Barbenheimer like post. So, yeah. So then we dropped the baby off at his grandparents' house, and then we split an eggplant parm and some chips at a local Italian eatery, and then we went to the movie.
We got coffee too.
And we did get coffee.
Nola's.
We chugged coffee.
Oh, it was real fast. I was like, I'm in trouble.
Nola's for Nolan. So we get in, we sit down, and it's Oppy time.
Yep.
So 3 hours and 2 words, in 2 sentences. I might have promised too much. So basically, Cillian Murphy plays J. Robert Oppenheimer, who is known as the father of the atomic bomb, and the entire movie is it's a biopic, but it's structured differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's structured sort of with the device that it's about his post-war when he's getting his security clearance either taken away or not, and it's simultaneously it's juxtaposed with Robert Downey Jr.'s character, who is the head of the Atomic Energy Commission, and he's been nominated to be Secretary of Commerce by President Eisenhower. So it's his confirmation hearing. And you see those two stories being told, and then the story of Oppenheimer creating the atomic bomb and all of the stuff surrounding that is in flashbacks. So it's part in black and white and part in color. And for the reason for that is I didn't look it up. But it was cool.
It was interesting.
And so
maybe it's the parts in black and white are more about the Strauss story.
Strauss is Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
Oppy's stories in color.
Maybe I would have to rewatch. But so those stories all sort of coalesce, and you see the destruction of the bomb. You only see the test. You don't see the actual dropping of it if you're worried about that. Because that's obviously the real people died in that real explosion. So those real explosions. So it's about that, and then it's about the fallout from that and how it affected Oppenheimer is psychologically and morally and all that. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it did a good job of leaving it up to the viewer to determine whether... I don't think that the movie itself makes judgments. I think that it gives you both sides of it, and it says, was he right for doing this? Or was he, wrong, and does he deserve to, deserve everything that happens to him? Or worse. And I don't think it necessarily... I think certain characters in the movie come to the conclusion. And I think Oppenheimer himself probably came to that conclusion, one of those conclusions. But that's the movie. It's great. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go through a whole beat-by-beat plot summary of it, but it is... I loved it. I thought it was great.
It too.
The score was just so on point, and I don't know. There was just something about it that just made everything feel so ominous and just tense. And I was riveted for almost all 3 hours.
Yeah.
There was a tiny bit there maybe like about 2/3 of the way through where I was a little bit okay. I was like, okay, I think it's like kind of over. We're gonna wrap this up, and then something else happens, and I was just all the way in until the end. And then at the end, I was just like, whew. Yeah.
I loved it. I did not expect to love it. I don't love Christopher Nolan movies overall. I did like. It's not like I don't like them. I do like all of them.
Yeah, they just don't do it. Yeah, it's like kind of like what I was saying about Spielberg when
right.
When we
I
talked
think
about
that
Jaws.
he's a great director. I think that there's some really
he just doesn't make
good
you feel
movies.
things usually.
Yes, exactly. I find it sterile a little bit.
And that's how I feel about Spielberg. Like I think he's great at putting something on screen that I think is pleasing, but not something that hits me emotionally as much.
I also don't like movies longer than 2 hours long.
And he does them often.
And
I can't think of one of his that are under 2. Maybe Memento, probably.
And I don't like biopics.
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
And I don't like biopics.
Yes.
And I loved it. Like I truly found it to be a masterpiece.
Well, Cillian Murphy is
crazy.
also just extraordinary.
The cast is stacked.
Yeah.
You just don't beat Peck.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Alden Ehrenreich, you just don't beat it.
I mean, I do like him.
Me too.
He's
I
really
like
good.
Josh Peck was fine too.
He's fine. But I found it to be compelling. I found it to be clear.
Surprisingly, for something that deals with politics and science and like all this stuff that
Very difficult subject matter
Math.
underneath the seemingly simple surface.
Oh, remember that Rami Malek was in this?
Oh yeah, Rami Malek's in it. He was good in this.
He was.
And
Doing his Rami Malek thing.
he did his thing. He did his thing.
They let him cook.
And so I found myself really, really enjoying
There's like
this movie.
There's like a random Skarsgård in this movie too.
Oh really?
Gustav Skarsgård.
My king. So
Oh, he was in Vikings.
a lot of people were in Vikings. I kept clicking on people.
And Westworld he was into.
So speaking of Christopher Nolan movies, let's go through some of his biggies. You've got your
I mean, I could probably name his entire filmography.
Do it.
Following, which I haven't seen. Insomnia, Memento, The Prestige, I think. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, Inception. Inception was in there somewhere. And then there was
Interstellar,
Dunkirk, Tenet,
Tenet,
and Oppenheimer.
So the only two that we have not seen
Tenet and Following.
are Tenet and Following. We've seen all the rest. How does this rank among Christopher Nolan movies for you? I'll tell you my answer.
Yeah.
Number 1. It's my favorite, I think, by far, although I will list other ones I really like.
I did get the order wrong, but I got
That's
all of
okay.
them are right.
I did like Insomnia.
Yeah.
I think that's a fun movie, but it's more of a classic kind of
Detective story.
But I think it's a cool concept.
It's a detective
and
story
I like Robin
with
Williams in it.
It's a detective story with a gimmick, kind of like a Hitchcock.
I
type
like
story.
it. Memento, I haven't seen since college.
We watched it together.
But I did like it a lot when I saw it. Now I don't know if I would like it as much, but maybe I would.
Yeah, I don't know either.
The Batman trilogy, Batman Begins kind of slaps. I gotta be honest with you.
I mean, I feel like it sort of gets crapped on a little bit as compared to The Dark Knight, but again, all of this is subject to me rewatching The Dark Knight because I haven't seen it in a very long time. I haven't seen it since like I knew what movies are.
Yeah.
You know, but I preferred Batman Begins.
I really like The Dark Knight. I saw it a couple times in theaters.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch it.
I had a really funny experience watching it with my cousins.
Yeah.
Like, my cousin Kate was so confused. She was like, wait, the
the
Batman and the Joker are friends? I'm like, I don't know about that. But I really liked The Dark Knight. I did not like Dark Knight Rises. Do you know why?
Bane.
Could not understand a word he said.
Yeah.
I'm like,
The last time we watched with subtitles.
Don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
When you watch it with subtitles, it's a little bit better. I do like it. I like Anne Hathaway in it. I
What about
like
when he
it
was
better.
like, "You merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it."
I was like, what?
You were like, "You dada what?"
Did not love that movie. Dunkirk I actually really liked, but there's no heart in Dunkirk. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a little bit,
there is, but to me, the Dunkirk was different because another movie where you can't understand Tom Hardy.
Oh my! I was like, what?
Because he's in a plane the whole time and he has the mask.
Thing on. I'm like, I don't.
To me, the score in that, the ticking that Hans Zimmer score in that movie is the that's the only thing I think about every time I
Dunkirk
watch
is
that
an
movie.
excellent movie, and it gets its point across, and I appreciate that it takes a different approach to a war movie.
Yeah.
For me,
It just drops you in.
yeah, and I love that. And there's no background. You don't need the background. You don't need the side stuff. It just
It was when people were excited for Harry Styles' acting career.
I like Harry Styles. But
I said his acting career.
yeah, true. But it doesn't like it. You know, it's
you've seen the message of Dunkirk before.
It's not even that. It's just, is that going to be my favorite movie?
Oh, no.
Am I going to want to rewatch it? No.
I would rewatch it.
Interstellar, I actually did really like.
I loved Interstellar. The storyline is a little okay. Love, it's hokey, but I was just in awe of the effects.
You like read sciencey books?
I read the book that Kip Thorne, I think, was the physicist who he consulted for that movie, and he wrote a book about the physics of Interstellar, and it was amazing. It was like a big picture book. It was crazy.
Inception, I liked. I think it's a cool movie.
Yeah, it's fine.
And at the time, it was like, ooh.
Can we talk about the ending to Inception?
Spoilers.
So, if you don't remember, the whole concept of the movie is that it's a dream within a dream within a dream, and like Leo's character, he's like, at some point you're not going to know whether it's a dream or not. And at the end of the movie,
and he has
this little totem that he does, and he spins a top, and if the top wobbles or falls, then he's in the real world, but if it doesn't, then he's in a dream, which is a suspect premise to start with. But at the end of the movie, he's like what happened with his kids? There was something with his kids, and then he like reunites with them or something, and then the end of the movie, he's at his house, and he's like a beach house or something, and his kids are playing outside, and he spins the top, and then he just walks off, and then there's like maybe the tiniest bit of a wobble, and then it cuts to black, and it's like, was it real or was it not? And to this day, I literally yesterday saw people debating this ending, and I don't understand how people can't comprehend the fact that it does not matter.
People don't want that ending.
I know.
People want a unambiguous ending.
I know. And
they want an answer to the question.
And that's one of the reasons why Inception was so huge, was because everyone was debating the ending.
Right.
I just don't he wants to hang out with his kids. It doesn't matter whether it's a dream or not. Like, that's it.
I personally thrive in ambiguousness and ambiguity and all that stuff. I love not knowing the endings of things. I like when things are left open. I loved the ending of The Sopranos.
Didn't we just talk about like last episode about how you like clean endings and clean movies?
No, I don't remember that. I like thriving in my it doesn't matterness.
Yeah, no, I like
you know
that.
What I mean? Where it's like,
if it's not the point, like The Sopranos ending, whether Tony died or not, there is a clear answer. But
he
whether
obviously dies because
whether he died or not is not the point.
Listen to me. Listen, you guys need to stop, because there is a scene 2 episodes before the end.
I think it's the premiere of the second half of that season.
And he's on a boat, and someone's
With
like,
Bobby.
hey, Don, what do you think happens when you dies? And he goes, I don't know. I think it all goes black.
I think Bobby says it.
He says, I think it just all goes black. And then at the end, guess what happens? It goes black.
Yeah.
That's the end. Like, I'm sorry. But also, it doesn't matter, right? That's like the whole thing. It doesn't matter. And I love that. So I actually love that ending of Inception to a movie that I liked.
Yeah.
So
it's because you're not a big Marion Cotillard fan.
I'm really not. I gotta be honest.
She had a moment in like the
I gotta see La Vie en Rose,
aughts.
and I loved her dress at the Oscars for La Vie en Rose, but she's not my favorite. So yeah, Oppie's my favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
I think it's mine too. And
So
I think the only other contenders are Interstellar and subject to a Dark Knight rewatch.
There you go. There you have it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's his most complete movie. I think it's his most mature movie. I think it's the first one, or one of the first ones, where he's ever had a woman character that's been remotely interesting. And I think that it's just an achievement from start to finish. And he gets the best out of his actors. And he always does.
He always does. People want to work for him.
Yeah.
And they want to work, baby.
And people work for him a lot. Like Cillian Murphy, this was like his sixth Christopher Nolan movie.
Sixth.
But for a starring role.
Or if you're British, sixth.
I'm just also glad to see Cillian Murphy getting his moment,
He deserves it all.
Because we followed him for a long time.
We love him.
Yeah.
Red Eye, baby.
We got to watch 28 Days Later. Or 28 Weeks, whichever one he was in.
Whichever one he's in. So, okay, my next question. If Cillian Murphy wasn't Oppenheimer, and this could be, you could time travel if you want. You could do stay right here if you want. Who should play Oppenheimer?
Do you have any?
No, I literally can't think of anyone. I was gonna say like a joke answer, but I don't even.
It's hard
like,
for me to.
Like maybe Jack Nicholson. Imagine he's like, "Hey, I'm Oppy."
I don't know if Jack Nicholson has the.
I was kidding.
No, I know, but it's just funny that you say him because I don't think that he has the emotional depth. Like he's just Jack Nicholson, and I mean, I know he's gone crazy. He's done that type of thing in The Shining and like all those and Wolf and like all those types of movies. But
that's not what this is.
yeah, no, it's I don't know if Jack Nicholson can play heavy. You know?
Yeah, man.
Like it's got to be somebody who can play heavy. But Cillian Murphy, I'm looking at a picture of him right now. Cillian Murphy kind of looked like him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm right.
It's the eyes. Oops.
Oh, looked like Oppenheimer. Well, yeah. After filming Tenet, what's his name? Robert Pattinson gave Christopher Nolan a book, for
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, and Christopher Nolan looked at the cover and saw him, and he was like, "Oh, that's kind of Cillian Murphy vibes."
Yeah. I could see Pattinson playing him, honestly.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it would be as good because I think Pattinson's great, but I think Cillian Murphy's better. But I could see him doing like that broody type of
What
role.
about the good old fashioned Christian Bale?
Christian Bale, that's the thing with Christian Bale. He's kind of a cheap answer because I think he can do anything.
He can do anything.
I think he could
What
literally,
about
I think he could literally play any role.
what about DDL?
Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah,
I think that he would have
I feel like it actually could have worked.
I feel like he would have been absolutely insufferable. I'll tell you
Cillian
that.
Murphy's probably like the nicest man in the world,
Yeah.
and DDL is hard to deal with.
There is a world where it's also DiCaprio.
Mm,
And I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah.
He is somebody that I don't think has that type of he's not that type of actor either, but I can just see in like the early 2010s if Nolan decided to do this and say like right off of Dark Knight Rises in like 2014, I could totally have seen him, of course, if he wasn't in The Wolf of Wall Street that year.
Yeah.
I could totally have seen it being DiCaprio, and it just felt like he was everywhere.
I know he already said yes to Barbie, so it would be kind of difficult. But what about Michael Cera?
I thought you were going to say Ryan Gosling.
I know you thought I was going to say Ryan Gosling. All right.
We'll get to our guy, Michael Cera.
So I know you loved this movie. I did too. What was your one favorite aspect of it, and what was your least favorite aspect of the movie?
My favorite aspect of the movie, I'm going to cheat here because I'm going to give you my overall, which is the score. But my absolute favorite moment is the build, the right before and right after the bomb. That's what you come to see. That's what you came for. It gives you what you came for. But the reason why I said the score first is because 99% of that sequence is absolute silence. Mm-hmm. Because the entire rest of the movie is filled with music. And I think obviously that was on purpose. But 3 hours of a score that is primarily based in the same instrument, that is wildly fluctuating between moods and tones and all that, and then you just completely cut it out during the most tense part of the entire movie. Amazing. And then there's the part afterwards where he is, like right afterwards, where Cillian Murphy Oppenheimer kind of comes out of the bunker or the base that he was in, and all of the people at the camp are like celebrating, and he's just like looking around like what did I just do? And what did I just unleash? And the music is so like sad and ominous is another word I thought of a lot when I was listening to it. And just I thought it was like a masterful like 10-15 minutes in that whole sequence. Mm-hmm. And then as for my least favorite, it would be a cop out to say the time, the runtime,
the length,
but also there's not a whole lot I would have cut out. I think it was all really important to the narrative. Mm-hmm. My least favorite, I didn't love the parts with Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
They kind of stuck out. I didn't think they were perfect.
I understand that like it's a point for like, okay, you wanted to deal with his connections to the Communist Party.
Yeah.
And you also wanted to cover his affairs.
Yeah.
But then I would like the Communist Party stuff. I think was covered pretty good.
I think it was
pretty well,
honestly, and I love her. I think it was Florence Pugh's performance.
Oh, but I think that there should have been another more stuff about his affairs. I know that they alluded to the other big one or whatever, but I wanted a little bit more from that maybe.
Yeah. So Florence Pugh played his first, I believe she was his fiance, and she was connected with the Communist Party, which became a big part of his later troubles with getting a security clearance and all that, because he was so close to people in the McCarthy era who were, basically trying to root out anybody who was even remotely connected to communism.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to deal with all of that, and she was basically his, like, he met her at a Communist Party event with his brother, but he was never actually a member of the party, and she was. And so I just thought that her I don't know. I think it just stuck out for some reason.
Sure.
And I don't think it was bad. Again, I'm nitpicking. I think it was an
she's
excellent
a great
movie.
actress,
and it's an excellent movie overall. But that comes to mind. Her scenes with him.
Mm-hmm. I think my favorite thing about this movie was how much, I don't know the exact word to put it with, but like everything felt like not an almost, but in between. You know what I mean? Like where you didn't quite know where things landed, especially with people. Like, okay, Oppenheimer himself, there were moments when he truly was celebrating what he had accomplished.
Yeah.
And in other moments, you could tell that he completely regretted what the Pandora's box that he had opened.
Yeah.
And none of it was explicitly said. He never said, I'm happy with this. He never said, I'm sorry for this. It was all kind of shown in this gray zone. It's the same with his affairs.
Yeah.
He never says.
He never apologizes.
He never apologizes for him. He never says, "Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done it." But you can tell that there's regret there because of him leaving that affair with Jean.
Yeah.
With him in that moment with his wife,
who is Emily Blunt.
Yeah, and after other things occurred when he admitted to this affair.
Yeah.
And it's just so in the middle. You don't know quite where it lands and where he lands on it.
Where Nolan lands on it, or where Oppenheimer?
No, where Oppenheimer lands on it. And I think that's Nolan's point. With Emily Blunt's character, Kitty, she is unhappy being a housewife.
Essentially a stay-at-home mom.
Stay-at-home mom. She doesn't want that. But at the same time, she follows her husband to New Mexico, and she had no trouble leaving her other husbands and all of this stuff, but for some reason she's kind of wavering in that way. I love how people's
uncertainty.
There's so much uncertainty, there's so much nuance, and I think that's so real.
Yeah, it was a lot, and a lot of it was very filmy, movie-y.
Yeah.
But I think that the character motivations, I agree, are interesting in that
way. And that's something that I think I struggle with a lot with Nolan movies is character motivations, and I don't care about the characters. I don't know anything about it, whatever. I think that this was a strength of his that I hope he leans into more in later movies that he does.
Yeah.
For my least favorite thing, couldn't you cut a couple people?
Maybe.
You don't gotta show everybody.
But it's funny because I
know you do.
I feel like a lot was left out even too.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, why are there 75 scientists there? And I gotta.
Everyone's famous.
And everyone's famous, but also everyone kind of blends. And I'm can we just have Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we just have a couple?
Yeah, why did David Desmalkian, or however you say his name, have to be one of the a guy that I recognize, and I'm like, what is this guy from?
Exactly.
And that was there was 10 guys that were like
David
that.
Krumholtz is in it, and I'm like, oh, him I recognize obviously because he's a very recognizable character, but Yeah, that's probably, but honestly, that's like nitpicking, and that's trying to find something I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
So, what Oscar noms do you think this will get?
Wait, Alex Wolff was in this movie?
Yeah, right. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, that's who that guy. Oh, I knew I recognized him. The guy who was he was one of the politicians, James Remar.
Yeah.
I know his voice because he was the dad on Dexter, so I recognize his voice.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he was one of the politicians too. I was like, who is that guy? There's another guy. I was like, who is that guy?
Yeah, he's got the Ed Begley Jr. look
And it's
to
like,
him.
and it's like his very deep voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that question?
What Oscar noms do you think this is going to get? Just do the big ones. I don't need to know about all the.
Well, I mean, I think
technical
it's going to
stuff.
get all the small ones. I think it's going
all
to get
the
sound.
technical
It's going to
stuff,
get score. It's going to get it. Honestly, I haven't watched all that many movies this year, but if there's a better score than this, I would like to see it.
Yeah.
It's going to get editing. It's going to get all that. I think it's going to be the front runner for the awards. That's my guess right now.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get Best Picture. I think it's a lock for Best Picture. I think it's a lock for Best Director. I think it's a lock for Best Actor.
For all nominations.
Nominations.
Not necessarily for
yes,
winning,
yeah, of course.
Supporting actor.
I think
for
it's
Downey Jr.
as close to a lock as it can be without actually being a lock for Robert Downey Jr.
I think Emily Blunt has a good shot.
I think
too.
she has a chance, and I think screenplay I'm iffy on, but I'm gonna lean yes because I'm gonna lean yes for pretty much every award nomination.
Love that
for the most part. Like I don't think that there's one cinematography. Like I don't think that there's one where I would be like definitely not. Like there's no way. Except for original screenplay because it cannot.
It cannot win that.
And song. Imagine this had an original song.
I'm just Oppy.
In an Oppy world.
What other biopics would you like Nolan to try out?
None because I'm over biopics. But
who else's life do you think Nolan could cover in a good way?
Well, he likes to cover people that are sort of adjacent, but are like right there. Like the people, like the people in Dunkirk are like supposed to represent people who are sort of part of that operation, but not the leadership.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer was leadership, but like people generally in the general public don't really remember Oppenheimer for anything other than his famous quote, which is I am become death, the destroyer of worlds, which is what he said when he apparently was having an affair or with his later fiance at the time.
Yes.
And then also when he realized the destruction that the bomb was going to cause after it was created.
Right.
And so it's hard for me to say because it's like it would probably be somebody who was next to the number one person, the number one most famous person. But he is also somebody who is into sort of like neoliberal like heroism.
Nolan, yeah.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. I wouldn't want to see him tackle like a prime minister or a president. I think that he likes to explore heroism and moral quandaries, and I think that in this movie you get both. And so there's probably somebody out there that fits that bill, but I don't have anybody off the top of my head that I would want to. And obviously, it's probably going to be an old white guy. Like, let's just be honest.
I've got one.
Go for it.
Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
I think he would do a really nice job with Oscar Wilde.
Why Oscar Wilde?
He is someone who had a very strong personality.
Yeah.
Who is British. Well, he's Irish, right?
I think he's Irish.
But he dealt with some difficulties in his life. He was persecuted for being gay. Yeah. And I think he was jailed. I
would be interested to see Nolan tackle like an LGBTQ. Like I don't know if he's got that dog in him.
I feel you. but I think that would be something interesting. Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe would be a great one.
Would be interesting.
Yeah.
I really would be fascinated to see him tackle things a bit more in the literary world rather than in the science world.
Or
politics world. Because you can tell he's extremely well read. He's very thoughtful, and I think that would connect well with a more English majory subject.
The thing that I love about him is that he is all that, and he loves all these movies.
But also he was like, Roger rules.
Loves Diary of a Wimpy Kid and loves Talladega Nights.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything better than that?
Yeah.
Last question.
I would like to see him tackle a Dennis Rodman documentary or a biopic.
That would be very
let him
interesting.
do Dennis Rodman.
Wow.
Let him tap into the mind of the diva.
Why not? Last question. What toy should Nolan make a movie about?
Oh, a Barbenheimer question.
Mm-hmm.
What toy?
What toy should he make?
I would like to see him make like a Hot Wheels movie.
Hot Wheels movie?
Yeah.
Mm.
But they're all like trying to. Then I'm just rewriting Cars. But they have to do Cars 4. No, but maybe he can do something like they're all obviously there's got to be good cars and evil cars, but they're also like mixing together, and there's this car world, and it's very there's shades of gray in the cars.
Wow.
And they have human minds and human hearts, and you just don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes they can surprise you. Even
No
though they're
CGI.
machines. No CGI. No. Cannot have CGI.
I think he would do a great Monopoly movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From the Monopoly man's point of view?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
so what does he have, like minions that are like a thimble and like a car and a horse?
Just old school Atlantic City.
Yeah,
what do
exactly.
You want?
I would love to see Christopher Nolan set a movie in Atlantic City.
I know. I'm telling you. So that is Oppy. Oppenheimer.
Yeah, loved it. 9 point something out of 10.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to Barbie now. Barbie is the Greta Gerwig directed fantasy comedy film. I know we're going so long. How long are we?
Keep going.
Oh my God. Okay. It was released on the same day as Oppenheimer. This movie, written by Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, stars Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, Michael Cera, Will Ferrell, Kate McKinnon. Who else? Everybody. The cinema. Oh, and Helen Mirren does the narration, which is amazing. The cinematography is by Rodrigo Prieto, known for movies like Brokeback Mountain, The Irishman, Babel, Argo, The Wolf of Wall Street, and he also did the upcoming Killers of the Flower Moon. So he did cinematography for Barbie and Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Could we have a double nominated cinematographer for next year?
Maybe.
Possible. You heard it here first. The music originally was going to be by Alexander Desplat, but he couldn't do it. So it's actually by Mark Ronson, who's a very famous music producer, and Andrew Wyatt, who's the lead in the group Mike Snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Animal, you know that song? Costume designer Jacqueline Duran, who's like a very, very famous costume designer. She's been Oscar nominated like 8 times, won twice. She did costumes. Okay, there's a lot of other movies that I listed a whole bunch, but I had to put a couple of these in. Vera Drake, Anna Karenina, you know what's coming. Little Women, you know what's coming, right? Pride and Prejudice, Atonement. Do you know what else she did the costumes for?
No. Greatest Showman?
I know, I'll keep going. 1917, Spencer, the Batman, and of course, our favorite, Mr. Turner.
Yes! Oh, man.
So she said that Barbie's designs were influenced by the French Riviera in the 60s and Brigitte Bardot. And Ken's designs focused on an 80s sportswear vibe. So far, the 114-minute Barbie has grossed $337 million, easily eclipsing its $145 million budget, although it feels like their marketing budget was $5 billion.
$85 billion.
Truly insane. It is the highest grossing movie by a woman director. It has a bunch of other things that it's like the highest grossing for. It's like crazy. And together with Oppenheimer, it's the 4th highest domestic box office weekend of all time.
Crazy.
So good. That's all I have for Barbie. I think we'll go a little bit quicker on Barbie.
Yeah.
So give us the next portion of our day and our Barbie synopsis.
So following our existential crisis from Oppenheimer, we went to a restaurant in town, and we just did like a couple drinks to friggin' unwind, and had some like appetizer type things,
So
shared
good.
plates, some hummus,
Street
some
corn hummus, French onion soup dumplings,
some pretzel sticks, what do
some
they call them?
wings,
Twists.
and wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't eat the wings.
Yeah, the wings they were gochujang. They had gochujang sauce on them. They were really good. There
Okay.
were like 50 wings there. So after that, we went straight to Barbie.
We changed.
Oh yeah, we changed. Picture will also be on Instagram. And we went to Barbie at a different theater.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that was key.
Yeah, it was good to switch up the vibe.
I
and the
think that,
atmosphere.
yeah. Oh, we'll talk about the pluses and minuses of Barbenheimer. But yeah, go ahead and give us what Barbie's about.
So Barbie is a movie about the doll Barbie, and she is played by Margot Robbie. And basically, it's about her having an existential crisis about death. She just suddenly starts having like thoughts about death,
And she gets cellulite.
and she gets what a disaster. She gets cellulite, and it's intertwined with the story of Ken, played by Ryan Gosling, one of the Kens. There are many Kens, there are many Barbies. And Ryan Gosling's Ken is they say that Barbie has her best day every day. Ken only has his best days when Barbie says hi to him or something like that, acknowledges him. So Barbie finds out from Weird Barbie that she has to go to the real world in order to find out why she has a connection with the person who's playing with her, and that person is obviously going through some stuff. So she has to go to the real world to find out how to fix that, and to go have her thoughts go back to normal, her cellulite go back to get erased or whatever. So she does that, and Ken goes with her, and hijinks ensue.
Perfect.
And I'm not going to say anything more than that if you haven't
all you
seen it,
need.
because if you've seen it, you know.
Right. Perfect. So let's get right into it. Greta Gerwig directed Barbie.
Yes.
This was her third feature film that she
Yes.
directed. She also did Lady Bird, and she also did Little Women. How does this rank among Greta Gerwig movies for you?
It's my third favorite. But not in a bad way. I really like Little Women, and I really like Lady Bird. This one, it didn't quite hit that next level for me, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
It was really funny, and I think that it said good. I think that it said things that were positive and all that, and like I'm fine with that. But it just didn't land with me. Like I still think about Lady Bird. I watched it in 2017. We watched it that was our Movie Pass days, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I still think about Lady Bird, and I've seen it a couple times. And Little Women, I think I only saw once, but that's one that I didn't think I was gonna like as much, because it was like it's a old novel, and it's like I'm not into that era of like they were British, right?
No.
Or American? Massachusetts.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just not into that like era of time of people. But I really did like it. It had
Gorgeous
an all-star
movie.
cast. So it's not that I didn't like Barbie, because I did like Barbie, but I just prefer her other movies.
Yeah. I agree. I actually really did like Barbie, and the more I think about it, the more I actually liked it. And if you look at the Wikipedia page, Greta Gerwig's all of her inspirations and stuff, she thought this movie out, which I really like about it. I also adore that Barbie's getting people mad. It cracks me up. Like, it truly cracks me up when people are bringing their 5-year-olds to see Barbie and are getting confused why, like, you brought your kid to a PG-13 movie directed and written by Greta Gerwig and also written by Noah Baumbach.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me that your 5-year-old doesn't love Squid and the Whale?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Squid and the Whale's great.
It is great.
Except for some weird parts with Jesse Eisenberg.
So I really do appreciate Barbie and really like it. And I thought it was hilarious. And Ryan Gosling
Ryan Gosling made me laugh every single time he was on
performance,
screen.
So good. But Lady Bird really is a top movie for me.
I just think it's such a personal story that's just small. I love those small stories like that where it's just really there's two characters in the movie. There's a lot more than two characters, but really it's just about the Saoirse Ronan and her mom,
Laurie Metcalf. And I love that it's like a minor period piece with it being like in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Little Women just hits.
You want to turn that off? Because it's flickering.
It's flickering.
I think the batteries are running low.
Little Women is also an amazing movie. So Barbie, I think, is great, and I really appreciate it. And I really felt like some of the messages were really strong. In particular, the idea that, and again, it's nothing new, but you have to experience the highs and lows in life to appreciate the highs.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really like to remind myself of, especially as I get older.
Yeah, because if every day is the best day ever, then no day is the best day ever.
And I really thought that was a really good message. I like that. I don't want to give anything away, but the end, I think it made me emotional a little bit.
It delves a lot into existentialism.
And I appreciated that.
And I thought that, I mean, who am I to say this? I'm not really the person to say this, but like that had more of an effect on me than the sort of feminist points that it's just like that they were a little too simplistic in my opinion.
Sure.
But not that they were bad or wrong, but it just wasn't.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that
it didn't feel super developed in that way.
What I
But again, I'm not the audience for that, so.
No, and I am the audience
Yeah.
for that. And I felt like some of the terminology and things were a little on the nose, a little 2010. And so that I struggled with. But what I really kind of struggle with is the fact that a lot of people I just think aren't getting it.
The movie?
Yeah.
Or the like what it's trying to get across.
Both.
Yeah.
And so that I think isn't really the fault of Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach.
I mean, maybe it is.
I don't think so because I think, understand.
But I think if enough people don't understand, then maybe you didn't tell the story in the best way you possibly could.
I also think you struggle with that with having $337 million profit, that now we get a lot more voices of people.
Yeah, true.
Who have different thoughts,
Yeah.
and people are allowed to have their thoughts. But I think that it leads to a simplistic understanding of the movie, which I think is a lot different than what people think.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
But I really liked it. I just, Lady Bird is such a good movie and Little Women's such a good movie that it's hard to like hit those heights.
Yep.
Who else could have played Barbie?
The only person I could think of, and I think Margot Robbie is the perfect casting
Barbie
for this version of Barbie.
Yes.
I think there's a version of Barbie in the world where Emma Stone is the star and it works.
That's cute.
I think that she wouldn't be stereotypical Barbie, which was Margot Robbie's like
character. Yeah.
I think that she would have been a different Barbie. What Barbie? I don't know. I'm not a Barbie head, but there's one where it works with her because she can be sarcastic. She can sort of play the tongue in cheek, but she can also be really serious and play it earnestly. Like I think she's a very versatile actress. She would be my number one pick. Number two, if we're time traveling.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, depending on, again, the model of Barbie. I think Cate Blanchett can do whatever she wants.
Always.
That's it.
Always. Those are both excellent choices.
I would also like to see Keira Knightley play one.
Oh, British Barbie.
From like the mid OOs, the mid aughts.
I like that. I think you could have gotten a Reese Witherspoon Barbie at some point.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway was actually considered at one point.
Yeah, she just popped into my head now. I love
Nicole
Anne Hathaway.
Kidman Barbie.
Barbie watching the doing the AMC speech.
Yes. What is it? Like where heartbreak feels good?
Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
The girl next to us said it out loud during it. She's like, heartbreak feels good in a place like this during the AMC
We love you, Nicole.
commercial. I think Nicole Kidman would be a great Barbie. I mean, she was like in the Stepford Wives, right?
Yeah.
So
anyone who was in the Stepford Wives would probably
Anne Hathaway's an excellent choice.
I love it. Go watch Rachel Getting Married because Anne Hathaway's great in that movie. That's all.
Anne Hathaway's great, period.
Yeah.
I'm over the hate.
That happened mostly after like Les Mis, right?
Yeah, and it's like, shut up.
Stop being Les Mis. Anne Hathaway
stop
rules.
being Les Mis. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about this movie?
My favorite thing, and it pains me to say
I know, it's Ryan Gosling. I know, it's annoying. That's not my favorite. He is amazing.
Yeah, he is just every mannerism, everything like perfectly. It's like I said to you, it's male fragility turned up to 1,000.
It's so good.
Like he knows like the way that he like turns his head like when she says something to him, and like it's for a movie that's not subtle, like and purposely not subtle. He does the extra subtle things on top of the unsubtle things that make it almost subtle again, you know? I
said to you, he plays it very Michael Caine in Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Like so dead serious.
All he needs is for Barbie to acknowledge him.
That's his life.
Yeah.
Ken is life to him.
Yeah. It's his energy.
I love it. I love it. He's Ken.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
It's so good.
What is it?
I am Kenna.
Yeah. Yeah, his sweatshirt that he was wearing.
What's your least favorite thing?
I didn't love the overly sentimental plot with America Ferrera and her daughter.
Okay.
Not that, again, performance is fine. I'm good with all those. Just to me, I liked the movie more when it leaned into the absurdity.
Sure.
And those parts stuck out to me where it was like, this is absurd, this is sentimental, this is absurd, this is sentimental.
Tonally, the shifts are a little
they went back and
abrasive.
forth.
Yeah.
But I understand that maybe if it was to lean too far into the absurdity, nothing was grounding it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, but when those characters were on screen, I was mostly just like, okay, give me more Margot Robbie and Kate McKinnon, or give me more Alan, who was Michael Cera, who was just a guy named Alan, a doll named Alan.
Ken's clothes fit him.
Yeah,
It's Ken's friend.
Yeah, or Ryan Gosling, or Issa Rae was great. Like,
oh yeah, it's a president.
You know what I mean?
So
like
good.
there was just so much more craziness that I wanted to see when the other characters were on screen.
That's fair. I think my favorite things were I think that there were so many kind of absurdist funny moments that were also grounded in reality that I really thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like Barbie's radio just playing the Indigo Girls.
Yes.
Was so funny.
Oh, my other
And
favorite part of the
then
movie was
when it shifted to the
Ken's favorite song.
and Ken's favorite song.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what it was.
No, if
it's worth it.
If you're a millennial, you probably will like get it, but if you're not, you probably won't. It's a very, very, very specific reference.
I couldn't deal.
Yeah.
I truly could not deal.
I said in a group chat after, I said that part of the movie broke me.
It's so good. Ken getting a full like musical number.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Ken's job being beach.
Ken's job is beach. It's just genius. Barbie's outfits the whole time.
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
amazing. The sets amazing.
Like Margot Robbie is like a real life Barbie, so it's like
she's
You
amazing.
know what I mean?
And what I really love about her, I think her casting is perfect, not just because she's the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah.
She has such an openness.
Yeah.
And her face just shows openness and joy and friendliness.
Well, it's funny because that's why she's been so successful as Harley Quinn.
It's so easy, I think, for really beautiful women to
phone it in.
No, to come across as, and it's not their faults or it just is a lot of time very beautiful women come across to a lot of people as either threatening as intimidating or the queen bee kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Margot Robbie, I'm sure, could play that because she's a great actress, but she comes across to me as like a girl's girl and really nice and really friendly.
She is a person who, like you said, like I would probably be intimidated to walk up to her in real life.
Well, because she's the sun.
Regardless of fame or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like if I did, and it wasn't creepy, like if I was just saying hi, you know what I mean? Like if I was being friendly, then she gives me the vibe of somebody who would like be genuinely nice back. Like,
and that's what
maybe it's because she's a great actress and she's not really like that, but
no, I think that that's something that when casting the Barbies, that was probably kept in mind.
Yeah.
Like all of the people that are cast in the movie feel so sweet and nice and friendly, and America Ferrera seems like the nicest person that's ever been on planet
She was good
Earth.
for that character.
And so I think that the casting was just so strong in this movie.
Even down to like I'm not a big Simu Liu fan generally. I find them to be kind of annoying like in real life, but mainly from that Celebrity Jeopardy episode we watched. But I thought that he was excellent as the other Ken, who is like
really
Ryan
fun.
Gosling's rival.
Really fun.
Yeah, and I think he got it. And it's the same. It's the same with even the cameos. Like I'm not gonna spoil like any of the cameos, but like Dua Lipa, most people know that Dua Lipa's in the movie. Like her Little Mermaid part was good. Not the Little Mermaid, her tiny mermaid
with
part.
her like the wig not on fully.
Which
right,
it
looks like a Barbie wig.
I didn't realize that it was her. I was like, where was Dua Lipa? And then I was like, oh, she was the mermaid.
Yeah.
And then the other mermaid who shows up later.
The thing I didn't love as much, we already talked about. You know. So that's all fine and good. Okay. What Oscar nominations do you think this will get?
All right. So This one I'm less sure of. It really is going to depend on how it hits the Academy, of course, like every movie. But I don't think this is tailor made to be an Oscar movie. But I think given everything around it, and they love Greta Gerwig, and has Margot Robbie been nominated before?
For I, Tonya.
I, Tonya, right? And Gosling's been nominated. I think this is a movie that does endear itself in a way to the Academy. So I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna say Best Picture, Best Director. Because Gerwig was nominated for both, right? Both of her movies, she's been up for Best Director and Best Picture.
I believe so.
Maybe not for Little Women.
I don't know about director, but definitely picture.
Yeah, but I don't know about director for Little Women.
Yeah.
But either way, they like her. I think it's a lock for Best Original Song, to be honest.
Which one?
The Ken song.
The Ken song,
yeah.
not the Billie Eilish song at the end.
No.
Okay.
If they do that, maybe both.
Maybe both.
I think it's got very serious production design, costume design.
Oh, it's gonna win
all of that stuff. Yeah. And I think Margot Robbie, I would say, is likely for best actress.
Yeah.
haven't weighed the competition and what's coming out and all that, but I would say she's likely, and I would say that Ryan Gosling has a chance.
I think he's likely.
Okay.
I just do.
Yeah, for best supporting actor.
Yes. All right, great. What type of movie should Gerwig make next? Let's take out the fact that we know that she's possibly doing the Narnia movies.
Yeah. Give me a sports movie.
Oh, I like that.
Give me a sports movie, Greta. And do I know that she likes to tackle feminist issues, so maybe you could do something with the U.S. women's national team or something like that, or some fictionalized version of that if you prefer.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then you have the politics behind everything, and you follow maybe one of the women is your lead, and you have sort of everything sort of going around that person, and I would say maybe something like that, or I don't know if how people say everything's a remake and a sequel nowadays. I know they just did a remake, but I would like to see her do a League of Their Own. If she's gonna do a sports movie,
yeah,
I think she would be good at something like that.
Great.
And if she wants to tackle a men's sport, go for it. But I feel like given her track record,
she makes movies for women.
Yeah.
So far, that's what it's proven to be, and I love her for it because how many movies are made for men? How many Christopher Nolan movies are made for men? All of them.
Yeah, maybe.
What biopic should Gerwig make?
What do you think?
It's a really good question. Dolly Parton's probably my answer.
Dolly Parton is a good one. Why don't we do
But I want adult Dolly Parton. I don't want cause she already does the whole we know a lot about the Coat of Many Colors and stuff like that. We know a lot about her childhood. I want adult Dolly.
Liza Minnelli.
Ooh, that's different.
I feel like that one would just be There's a lot of ways you could go with that because of obviously where she came from and everything. Growing up in the family that you grew up in and all, I think that would be a fun. And Liza Minnelli's the best.
She's the best. So good. All right, now we're gonna head into our last little set of questions, which is the Barbenheimer questions.
Yeah.
Do you think that we tackled this correctly by doing Oppenheimer first in a lunchtime sort of vibe, then doing an early dinner, and then doing Barbie? We were home at 8.
Yeah.
Do we think we did it correctly? I saw many articles about how you should not do Barbenheimer by doing Oppenheimer first and then go right into Barbie. What do you think?
That's hooey. I think that the way that we tackled it was perfect. I don't think there's anything I would have changed.
I agree. And I think that what was key for us is, number one, doing it during the daytime.
Yeah.
Because why are you going to see, no offense to anybody who did this, why are you seeing Oppenheimer at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
No way. No way. And B, we had a change in venue and we had a break.
Yeah.
I think we would have struggled if we went straight from Oppenheimer to the lobby and into Barbie.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for me. I need a scene change. I need a vibe check.
Yeah.
An outfit switch.
I think the big argument was that Oppenheimer is something that is gives off a profound type of ending, and it makes you really think about the complexities of the man and the whole action, and if he didn't do it, somebody else would have done it. There's so many moral questions that come out of that movie, and people were arguing that you can't necessarily digest that by the time you start Barbie. And to that I say,
why not?
I can save it for later.
Exactly.
we talked about Oppenheimer afterwards, and I think it would have been the same as if I had talked about it immediately afterwards.
I think that they don't know that we got the dogs.
We
in
got
us
that dog in us.
because I guess they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know that we watched movie after movie after movie while also dealing with the early days of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were wiping down groceries,
Yeah.
scared to leave our house,
Watching Scott Pilgrim.
watching movie after movie, watching Amore.
Watching salmon fishing in the Yemen.
Like, if we could watch salmon fishing in the Yemen,
Then we can do anything.
in
no, just
late
period.
March,
Just period. We can do anything.
Yeah, let alone in late March 2020.
Yeah.
We're watching salmon fishing in the Yemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can handle Barbenheimer.
Yeah. and I do think it was the right order because people I think saw saying like Barbie is like the treat, like the warm up before Oppenheimer, and I didn't find it to be that way necessarily. Barbie had a lot going on. Like,
I was gonna say we're not acting like Barbie is this like high flying adventure.
Yeah, no,
we're not
it's
seeing the Lego movie. We're not
Super
seeing
Mario
Super
Brothers.
Mario Brothers.
No, it was a really really thoughtful movie.
Both of them involved existential crises.
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't really matter which order you do it in.
Yeah.
I personally think that it comes down to runtime, and I would rather
much rather get the long one first.
I'd rather end with a less than 2 hour movie rather than watch a less than 2 hour movie and be like, ooh, we're not even halfway done.
Yes. I said something like right before we went into Barbie, I was like, by the time Barbie's done, we would only have been like 2/3 of the way through Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
Yeah.
But we were out of Oppenheimer, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
3:30.
Before dinner.
I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Would you do something like this again?
100%.
Me too.
It would obviously depend on the movies.
And it would have to be an organic thing like
Yeah.
this was. I don't want the studios
there are going to be manufactured
to manufacture it.
100,000%.
And that's going to be annoying. That's going to end up like Morbius.
Yes, it is.
And I want more Minions. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
The Rise of Gru.
Yeah, I want people wearing suits to Minions. I don't want Morbius.
Yeah, well, I think that this is something that obviously depends on the movies as well. But I think that in our schedule, building in something like this every few months, even if it's just 2 random movies that we go see that don't come out on the same day, that are both out, like I think that would be something cool that we could do. Not often because we don't want to
Once a
burden
year?
people like
Something
that.
Every summer?
6 months or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Cool. And then besides the movies themselves, what was your favorite and least favorite thing about our Barbenheimer experience?
My favorite thing is that, well, besides the fact that we got to see 2 great movies together, it feels like movies are back.
I love it.
I love that it was a thing. I love that it was an event. It's something that people did as a group together, and nobody tried to tear each other down except for the idiots who were purposely doing that.
Yeah.
And they knew they were going to do that going into it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's something that I want our culture to have more of, even if it's not necessarily movies that I will watch. Like, I'm not going to necessarily see every combination of movies.
You're not going to do a Marvel DC
I'm not gonna
one weekend extravaganza.
I'm not going to do a Marvel DC one weekend extravaganza. But if people are excited for movies, then I'm excited for movies.
I love that. What was your least favorite?
I don't know. I don't know if I had a least favorite part of the day. I really don't.
Okay.
I was happy when I got back. I was perfectly content. And I wasn't overtired. I wasn't exhausted. I don't know. I think that they were a perfect pair of movies to watch together.
I loved it.
It doesn't make any sense, but it does.
Okay. My least favorite thing is that our eggplant parm had skin on the eggplant.
Oh, yeah.
I always hate when there's skin on the eggplant. It was still very good.
I tolerate it.
It was very good, but I wish there was no skin on the eggplant. My favorite thing was spending time with you.
Yeah, same. Spending time with me.
So, okay, you got to ask the question.
All right. Should we do them individually or together?
Do them together.
Does Barbenheimer make Baby's first watch list?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Barbie sooner.
Barbie would be at any time.
Barbie. Okay, so Barbie, if you haven't seen it, there were some jokes that were above kids' heads.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
They're going to remember the colors. They're going to remember Ryan Gosling being an idiot.
Will Ferrell on
Will
rollerblades.
Oh, yeah. We didn't really talk about Will Ferrell. He was great.
Yeah.
He was the head of Mattel.
Yeah.
Trying to get Barbie and Ken back, or Barbie back to back in
he
her
didn't
box.
care about Ken.
No, he didn't care about Ken at all. But he was like a very funny character and even likable, which is like, of course he was, because Mattel was part of making the movie, so of course they weren't going to make him like an evil tyrant. But it's like one of those things that kind of reminds you of what Will Ferrell used to be.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that but like when he was in everything, and
Yeah.
he was similar to those types
So
of.
funny.
He reminded me a lot of Mugatu. I think that was probably where he from
That's good
Zoolander.
stuff.
That's probably where he drew a lot of that from. Except Mugatu is a horrible person, and this guy was just an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Will Ferrell was great.
Love it. And yeah, I think that both of them will be on our son's list.
Yeah, Oppenheimer. I feel like
Maybe a little later
there will probably have to be other movies and other books that he reads before he gets to Oppenheimer.
before diving in.
Yeah,
All right. So what about the takeaways, Tom? I have a takeaway.
go for it.
It's cool to really like stuff.
Yeah,
We dressed up. We were excited for it. We planned a whole thing. We got the babysitters.
I wore a
lined
tie
up.
to the movies.
I loved it, and I think that that kind of outright enthusiasm is really fun, and I'm going to keep trying to do that.
I think people get crapped on a lot for their hardcore interests.
For liking things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't like that. I agree.
And I don't
That's-
care.
Yeah, and that being said, more specifically, movies rule.
Movies do roll.
We watch so many movies, so many like movies that just make no. Like, why would anybody watch some of the movies that we watch?
And I always am,
There's usually
most of the time, glad that
I usually come away with something positive.
yes.
And I think that that's something to keep in mind, whether it's movies or music or whatever he's interested in.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. So that's Barbenheimer. We hope you enjoyed.
Was that so long?
It's an extra long episode, but it's not extra long.
Okay. Well, we did 2 movies.
Yeah, it's not even close to extra. We're at about an hour and 15, an hour and 20.
Oh, that's totally fine for 2 movies.
Yeah. And there was no trivia. There was no nothing. Like we sort of went through that in the Wikipedia stuff. So yeah, that's Barbenheimer. And we don't have our full August slate yet. There's going to be
We'll
5.
figure it
There's going to be
out.
5 movies because there's 5 Tuesdays in August.
Okay.
But we're going to do Grease next week, which we've talked about for a while.
I'm
or Aaron's
excited.
repeatedly mentioned, and I've said, "Oh yeah, maybe
Just
one
like,
day."
Come on, it's time for Grease. Well, like right before we went on, he was like, "What are we doing?" I was like, "Grease."
Yeah, and I was like,
"Oh,
"All right."
I love Grease.
Yeah.
I love Grease for literally. Okay, you think it's bad that people brought? You don't think it's bad, but like parents are like, "Oh my god, I brought my 5-year-old to Barbie, and it wasn't a kids movie."
Yeah.
How about Grease, which every millennial woman in the whole world saw before the age of 10? If
Yeah.
you watch it now,
Which we will.
Which
I've never
we
seen
will.
it. I've never seen it. So,
the most inappropriate movie of all time.
all right. So, tune in next week to see if it makes the watch list.
It will.
Yeah. So next week is Grease, and then stay tuned to the Instagram and our threads, I guess, which I have been still using.
Okay.
And all that for our August slate.
Yeah, go off social media,
Yeah.
content creator.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
Oh yeah. Support, subscribe, do all that because I spend a lot of time.
You really
doing
do.
it, so
You really do.
Please help. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed Barbenheimer, whether you watched them or not. If you didn't watch them, go watch them because they're both great.
They're great.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week for Grease.
Okay, bye.
See ya.